Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here for the Mountain Weather Information Service. This is your planning outlook video updated on Friday the 26th of January. Now it's a turbulent weekend ahead on the mountains with gale force or severe gale force winds across many higher areas. Temperatures will vary. At times there'll be some rain right up to the higher tops, but freezing levels will tend to drop, particularly as we go through into Monday as a cold front clears. And then on the cooler side for most of next week, higher terrain remaining essentially frozen throughout with some fresh snowfalls looking believable. The longer range trends just lean towards something drier as higher pressure tries to build. So if we have a look through temperatures, you'll see how things vary over the next few days. This is on Saturday and a warm sector is moving its way across the country with the temperatures lifting above freezing even up to the highest summits. But a quick change as a cold front moves through from the northwest. We'll see freezing levels drop to around 700 or 800 metres across Scotland into the afternoon with some snow coming down to lower levels at times. Then milder air tries to surge back northwards on Sunday. Some uncertainty still how far north that may get. Northern Scotland may stay below freezing on the higher tops, but most mountains becoming very mild across England, Wales and the south of Scotland. A cold front then sweeps in from the northwest as we go through into the early hours of Monday, that already across England and Wales by the daytime, and temperatures then well below freezing on the Scottish mountains, and even freezing levels to around 600-700 metres into northern England. Higher tops in Scotland could be down to -5, or perhaps just a bit below. It stays on the colder side then as we go through a few days into the middle part of next week. Slight fluctuations across England and Wales may bring freeze and thaw cycles. Higher Scottish mountains likely staying sub-zero throughout. A slight thawing of any snow on lower slopes, I suspect. Middle part of the week tries to draw something around as more of a pronounced northerly, so freezing levels could drop more widely with the scope for some more widespread fresh snowfalls at times. How long that colder northerly airstream lasts is then somewhat uncertain. We may transition by next weekend back towards something coming in from the west. So here's a run through the synoptic charts, and there's Saturday. There's the warm sector that we were just talking about moving eastwards. Some rain persistent for a good many hours, tending to clear from the west as time goes on. The cold front ushering in that cooler air as we go into the afternoon. Widespread gales across the mountains, and we've got the risk of severe gales or storm force winds across the higher tops in Scotland, particularly towards the north. Gale force winds again across England and Wales into Sunday. The wind's likely to strengthen in Scotland as well, and a waving front is just extending in from the Atlantic, tracking in with some prolonged falls of rain where that runs into the West Highlands. On its northern edge, as it engages with colder air, could give some snowfalls for a good part of the day across the northern side of the Highlands. As I said, just keep an eye on the local details for that one in terms of how far that snow does get. Many places may well just see temperatures lift and all turn to rain. And essentially a mild day across England and Wales, but with low cloud and some rain coming into western hills, not particularly a pleasant one, although that rain rarely genuinely heavy. Anywhere toward the eastern side of Wales, the eastern side of the Pennines, you're essentially dry much of the day. Now those fronts will have made swift progress south and eastwards into Monday, so by the middle part of the day it looks as though that cold front is across central parts of England and Wales. It may take a while for any rain on that to fade from Wales, but it should clear from northern England and already gone through Scotland overnight. Some snow on its back edge coming down to around 600-700 metres, and showers coming in pretty frequently to the West Highlands, although few showers may reach central and eastern parts of Scotland, so essentially a dry day. Some sunny spells coming through, but a windy one again, likely to be gale force winds across the mountains much of the day. Now detail becomes tricky into the middle part of the week. We may see a brief build of higher pressure and somewhat more benign conditions just for a time. What happens to this developing low and fronts coming in from the Atlantic is uncertain. At some point through Tuesday that may develop and swing in with conditions deteriorating. So again, just keep a close eye on your local details. Expect that weather system to move in as we go into the middle part of the week. So we're left with a situation something like this in the middle part of the week. Low pressure trying to drive in from the Atlantic and park itself across the country and eventually trying to move its way into the North Sea. Dragging in colder air from the north and increasingly down to lower levels. Some snow is possible through this stage. We might well see an extensive fall of snow across many of the mountains. Very tricky with the absolute details, but that seems to be the story at this stage. Risk of wind speeds being widely gale force as well for a period. And then as that low tries to pull eastwards, pressure tries to build out toward the west, and it stays with a cold air mass coming down from the north by this stage. This is towards the back end of the week, and higher pressure trying to topple in from the Atlantic. It's then looking at a drier, brighter period with frozen terrain, essentially, frost in the valleys and the glens overnight. and we may just become dry and bright over a day or so, but need to watch whether any fronts start to edge their way back in from the Atlantic if the wind flow starts to turn more westerly towards next weekend. The longer range trends into the first week of February look something like this, and it's the idea of higher pressure trying to take charge, focused across the British Isles and quite extensively across the Atlantic and even into Central and Southern Europe too. Temperatures not looking desperately cold at this stage. We might still be around average, but frost overnight would be more common. It might be an inversion situation where some of the higher tops are that little bit warmer and you find some fog in lower levels. Still, I think something of a westerly trying to topple in off the Atlantic, low pressure around Greenland and northern Canada just keeping that westerly flow going. Low pressure is somewhere around Iberia as well at this stage. But I think generally rain-bearing fronts seem to be just being ushered away from the British Isles at this time. Notice the zone of higher pressure which is in existence towards northern Russia. That may have some role to play further ahead. Some of the longer range trends for the month of February as a whole eventually try and see higher pressure exist around Scandinavia, which could just bring in something more of an easterly and a colder regime with time. And that's something that the longer range trends have been hinting at for a while, that we might try and go into an easterly regime eventually into February. We'll see how things go. Even at this stage, some uncertainty just how things do play out, and we'll update you on all the very latest for the longer range outlook in the planning video on Tuesday. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.